tractor means it's time for us to go to work. Welcome to the Give Us a Dirt podcast powered by Hoopah Grading Company. My name is Brandon and I am your host. So today I have the joy of being able to showcase one of our own. Katie Page is the Director of Team Development here at Hoopah Grading Company. With a team of 19 All-Stars, she helps lead the collective effort of serving all of our 702 team members here at Hoopah Grading. For those of you that have listened to the podcast for a while, you've heard us and several of our guests talk about the work that's being done here at the HGC Academy. Katie is not only leading the efforts of that work, but she was also instrumental in creating it. Today, we're going to dig into Katie's story and learn what's working, what's not working in the world of workforce development and recruiting. Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Did you ever think you were going to be a guest on this thing?
I did not.
This is going to be fun. Or you look extremely nervous right now.
I feel a little nervous.
Katie, this is easy. This is going to be great. We're going to have fun. You just relax. We've already covered your hair, your earrings, disinfecting all the equipment, so you're safe.
I'm safe.
Relax.
Okay.
Relax. All right. So you know how we start this thing.
Yeah, this is one reason why I'm nervous, though.
On having to describe.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to throw me for a loop.
No, I'm not. So I want you to tell our guests, how would Mike introduce you to a group of strangers?
I think that he would say that I'm a very determined person, which can also equal being very stubborn, depending on the day and the situation. And he would probably say that I'm the love of his life, which is very sweet, and that I enjoy what I do.
He gets credit for being sweet even though he didn't say anything.
He's a sweet guy.
Great job, Mike. You know, stubbornness is a great quality if you're right. That's what...
Well, the good news is, even when I'm not right, I can back down and not be so stubborn.
That's another great quality.
You thought I was going to say I'm always right, but...
So tell everybody, what is your role here at Hoopah Grading Company? What do you do?
So, as you mentioned, I work with a lot of all-stars. We've got an awesome team, and we work together and handle recruiting, hiring, onboarding, marketing, training, safety. Our training encompasses here at the academy, in the classroom, in the field, and on our simulators. So I just work alongside and support the team as they make it happen, make the magic happen.
That's a lot. That's a lot of hats to wear. So what let's now that you've told us what you do, let's talk about how we got there. I want to hear a little bit of your story. And so what's always fascinating about this is that you're leading all that, the recruiting efforts, the training and development, and the safety program for a pretty large construction company. So tell us about your construction background.
Well, one time I helped my dad dig a ditch.
Is that it?
It was a pretty long ditch. It went down the driveway, but and I did spend some time at Habitat for Humanity. So I've spent a little bit of time helping to build some houses and dig a ditch, and that about sums it up.
You know, and I'm picking a little bit, but the reality is you didn't grow up in the industry and you weren't in construction. So tell us about your path. How did you get here?
How did I get to Hoopah? Well, I was with Habitat for Humanity in Cabarrus County.
What were you doing with them?
So I started out as a fundraiser, and then the executive director retired, and I moved into the executive director role. So marketing, events, community efforts, things like that, and then took over the executive director role. And, you know, it was very, very rewarding work. And I enjoyed all the different hats that I wore there as well. But just really, I'd been a nonprofit at that point. Prior to that, I had been at United Way. So all told, I was probably in nonprofit for about 7 or 8 years. I was just ready to kind of make a shift. And I ended up here because of you.
Yeah, that I still remember that. So we actually met. Someone told us, connected us, a mutual friend said, "Hey, Katie's looking to make a change in her job. You know, would you talk to her and maybe help connect her with some people?" And you know, she's just looking for other options. And so we met. Yep. And I remember after that meeting, I thought, you know what? We've got to figure out how to make a role for Katie at Hoopah Grading Company. And I had no idea what that role was, but I came back and I talked to Brian, and this was prior to the academy. There was no team development group. There was none of that existed. But I talked to Brian. I said, I think there's something here, but I don't know what it is. And do you remember the interview? So we called you in for an interview. I want to hear your version of that. That was a pretty cool interview.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into. I remember I was flying out that day to go visit my sister. So I was going from here to the airport. And I came in and I sat down in Brian's, it was in the office. And it was you, Brian, and Tim. And what I most recall is that y'all were kind of having a conversation. Brian was asking me some questions, and he looked over at Tim, and he goes, well, she's not going to be on your team.
That's right, because we originally thought, with your experience at Habitat for Humanity, that you could be a project manager, right? You were, in essence, you were managing all of these different projects. And very quickly, we realized that wasn't the case.
But I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I didn't know anybody. And Tim looks back and he's like, yeah, I figured that out. So I'm like, well, I guess this interview's over.
All right, so we marked out project management. And then where did it go from there?
The way I remember the interview ending is you said, just give us a few days to talk over some stuff, and we're going to get back in touch with you.
Yeah.
And then you called me a few days later and said, basically, I don't know what we want you to do, but we've got some dreams and visions and goals, and would like you to maybe be a part of it.
Yeah, we need you to come help build it. And you know, it's crazy, but that's not far from how it actually went. I mean, it was not much more than that at all. I know at that time, Brian had gone through with the leadership team, the VTO. They had set a vision for the company of becoming the best, and they had laid out 10, 3-year, 1-year, and 90-day goals to try to get there. But we didn't know what that looked like yet, and we didn't have the team assembled, and we didn't have team development group and the training. All those components weren't in place, and so I think we brought you back in. Brian kind of laid out this vision, and we shared with you kind of what we thought that could look like and where we thought you could start. And I always make the analogy that it was like we took a box of Legos and just dumped them out on the table and said, Katie, we need you to go build something with these pieces.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of what my job description was. It was a bucket of Legos.
So who walks out of an interview like that and says, I'm taking that job? That's the job for me. So what was it when you left that, and what was the thought process on that? I don't know this part of the story.
You know, I wasn't really sure. I knew that I wanted to move into something different. And honestly, looking back on it now and from my experience over the last 3 years, I think that in that meeting and through those conversations, immediately through those meetings, I knew that I could trust you guys. And there was that y'all respected who I was and the skills and abilities I came in with, and maybe it wasn't a perfect fit for the PM job or whatever, but I think the culture, what I now know as our culture, was there in that meeting, and just the desire to be a part of something that you could tell that there was going to be some energy and movement and room for growth, and it just seemed like it could be fun.
You know, so I went through a very similar deal with Brian, too. I really didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know how my skills that I had when I was at Martin Marietta were going to translate over to the construction world and the grading world. But one thing that you mentioned there is I knew I walked away from my meeting inspired. And after hearing the vision that Brian shared, kind of like you, I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of something that was going to change not just the company, but possibly the industry. And that was exciting. And to know that you could be a part of that and have a role in that. And I think, too, there's something to feeling safe, right? Making a jump to a company, but having, knowing that owner of that company is going to have your back. They're being authentic. You can trust them. And you don't know what it's going to look like, but you know they're going to take care of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said yes. I'm glad you said yes.
Glad you laughed.
So what is team development group? What do you do? I know you kind of gave us the roles of team development group, but kind of break it out to us, like how you started building this thing. What that process look like?
So, our goal as a team, and whenever we meet, we always talk about how do we serve the rest of the company. I mean, we're fortunate to be in the roles that we're in. It's a lot of work to do what we do, just like everyone else in the company in their own roles. They put in that time, energy, and effort. We do that, and it manifests in different ways, right? We're not digging trenches or moving dirt, but our goal is to serve our teammates across the board. And I think that as the team began to grow, it started out with myself and two or three others, and really it was the more that I understood the vision. Brian is amazing at how he can visualize where he wants this company to go and what that means, but that the foundation of it is always focused on the people and how do we support our team and maintain that culture. And it was just as I began to kind of wrap my arms around that and understand where we were going, knowing that we needed more support to be able to do that and to do it well, to be the best at that. And so, we started out focusing on providing trainers, and that was prior to the academy. And, I was just a year or so into my role here, and I was at a conference and you called and said, hey, we rented you a 20,000 square foot facility to be an academy. And I was like, what? And so that really showed me that we've got to be strategic about how we build this academy and what roles that we need in place, and bring in, the safety team in with team development group and overlapping that training, the safety training along with the operation training. And, obviously with marketing, we needed to grow that because we wanted to get our goals and our mission out there in the right way and on the right channels. And so our marketing side grew. And then if you're going to provide all these different things for our team, you've got to have the team there. And so expanded our recruiting, hiring, and onboarding, which has really grown. The team that handles that has really built that out. And our focus is from day one, from the first phone call, from applying online. I mean, all of what our team does, it all overlaps and goes in together, from the website and the online application process to the first phone call to interviews to them getting on board, going through orientation, the training. So it just kind of snowballed so that we could offer that wrap our arms around everybody through the whole process.
Yeah, that's and how long has this been? What are we saying? 3 years?
So my 3rd year anniversary was this past Friday.
Happy anniversary. I knew that.
Thanks, Brandon.
I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
3 years and 3 days.
3 years, which is not a very long time.
No.
I mean, you think about what's been accomplished in 3 years, and I'm not saying that to pat anybody at Hoopaw Grading on the back and pat you on the back, because it is a great accomplishment, but that's not the reason I'm saying that. I say that because people come into this academy all the time. You're giving tours all the time. People are reaching out, wanting to know, what are you guys doing here? And they walk in and they say, oh my gosh, this is massive. But it's just been 3 years. And so it's not something that is so far away that you can't accomplish it. You started, there were no blueprints. No one told you how to go out and build this thing. There was no curriculum book. There was no library of training classes available. You had to build it one at a time. Yep. And then you went from 2 or 3 people at team development, and you slowly built your team up. So I just want to say that to people that are thinking, hey, I love the concept. I love the idea. I love what's happening there, but it's too big for us to accomplish. It's not.
No. Yeah, I mean, it evolved naturally, and just the needs would come up, and you find the right person. And in some instances, from internally, we've moved people onto the team because there's something they could bring to the table And maybe we didn't have a specific role for them, but kind of like with me, you know, there were a few Legos there that we needed somebody to pick up and build an arm of team development group. And so we've all joined together and have a really good team. We have a lot of fun and do a lot of hard work.
It's the other thing that we get asked a lot is how big's the team? And they hear 19 people, and that's big.
Yeah.
That's a big group, and it's a significant investment. And I think that's the other part too, is having the vision is one thing, being willing to bankroll it is another thing. And I know that as you come to the table and say, we need this, I'd like to do this, like we constantly are investing back into it, because we look at this, if people are going to be our greatest resource and our greatest asset, then it ought to be what we spend the most money on.
Yeah.
And I think we are. We can't say, our greatest asset is our people, but we spend more money, maintaining our equipment than we do our people.
Well, and I'll say that's, one of the reasons that every day I come to work and I look forward to being here. And I believe it's because I'm at a company that has a strong culture, and that really does start at the top with you, Brandon, Brian, or you are Brandon, you, Brian, Tim, and Grayson. That, our executive leadership team, you care about everyone here, and you're not just sitting in an office. I mean, you guys are out and you're in the field and you swing through and you're available. And to me, that speaks volumes of the company and that investment into people. I mean, I've worked at places before where you don't talk to top leadership. They're just not available. And it's different here, and people feel that. And that's why even with 700 teammates, it still feels like a small family.
Yeah. And I think you hit that early on. And again, I don't want this to be a commercial for Hoopah Grading. I don't want this to sound like we're trying to really talk about what we're doing, but there's some things that we got right along the way, and there's some things we screwed up along the way. And we've learned a lot from others in the industry. But the thing that's worked best for us is adopting the mindset that we exist for one reason only, and that is to serve those men and women that are out in the field. And, we're split up, construction and operations at Hoopah Grading. Construction is everything that's out on the job. It's out in the field. It's getting the work done. Operations is everything that supports that effort. So pre-construction, safety, team development group, like those departments and those leaders and those team members exist for one reason, and it is to make sure that everyone out in the field has everything they need to be successful and to achieve their goals. Yep. And I think that mindset just helps us. It gets us to where they see us as that, as being there to help them instead of getting in the way of what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, and our team, we have to handle situations sometimes that aren't fun situations, but one of our goals as a team is to build those relationships and to be available for the good times, the fun times, and be available when things don't go as we, had hoped they would. And so I hope and I believe, and this is what we work toward, is that we are viewed as team members who are there to help and to serve. And so when we show up on site, that, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So are you human resources? Is team development group just a cool way to say human resources?
No, we don't have anybody here that's human resources. I think that, and that honestly was a mind shift for me, where I was at before, and when I was at Habitat as the executive director, I mean, I was HR along with some of the other leaders there, and we had a consultant, but it was a different approach. Like there was, a defined, this is HR. And I think the cool thing here, and this is one of the things that I would say took us a little bit, at least took me a little bit of time to wrap my head around and understand how to get traction behind it. But, there was a time when I felt like I was going to different sites, being pulled into different situations and different conversations, and just kind of running all over the place. And it was, we had conversations, and it's like, take a step back. How do we help those who are out and in the middle of that situation, our leaders out in the field, have those conversations? Because a lot of times an HR issue is just a conversation, and being able to have that conversation person to person. And I think that falls back into the training that we offer here, that it's not just about how to operate different pieces of equipment, but it's how to be a good teammate, and how to have those conversations. And you can approach things from a lot of different ways, but if you go forward with, especially with, our core values, and that's what we base our day-to-day on, then you can have a difficult conversation in a respectful way and make a lot more progress and not need the quote-unquote HR steps, because you navigate around what could be a bad situation, and everybody walks away feeling heard, and you go back to doing what you're doing, moving dirt.
What you're doing, you're teaching the leaders to lead. And I think that's such a great concept that you guys have built through team development, is that we're not here to solve your problems. We're here to help you navigate through them.
Right.
We're here to give you the tools and the resources to navigate through them. So if there's a problem on a team out at a job site, you don't go out there and address it with that individual. You go to the leader of that team and you say, hey, here's some things that could help you navigate through that. And I think that's a great design. And look, I may get in trouble here for people that are listening that are in HR. I'm sorry, okay, but nobody ever wants to hear HR is involved. Right? You were in HR.
Yeah.
When you hear, hey, we're coming to see you and we're bringing HR.
Yeah, not good.
It's not good. It's never good. So just the connotation of HR, suggests that, all right, you're in trouble. They're gonna make decisions for you. They're going to tell you what you need to do and how to do it. And that's not how you've set this thing up. And I love that concept that we're not going to tell you how to run your job. We're going to give you the tools to be able to do it and do it well.
Yep. And that's what I feel like, you're my boss. I know we don't really like to use that word around here.
Well, don't use it.
But from the outside looking in, and you've been incredible at giving me that latitude to grow this team and to trial and error my way through some situations and circumstances. And I think that, like you were saying, out in the field, we want to equip and teach and train, and I'm able to implement that because I've been given that opportunity.
Well, so talk to me a little bit about the Academy. You gave us that high-level overview. What are some of the things that you're currently working on?
We've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of cool partnerships too. And we actually just had a curriculum specialist join our team, which I'm very excited about. But, our academy is usually mostly used on rain days. So the slogan, when it rains, we train. And so we bring in teammates for training. And obviously with 700 plus people, you can't get everybody in one day. And so we've got a lot of trainers who coordinate the details when rain comes up, and we bring individuals in for different types of training. But what we're really looking to do now is, how do we take the training to the field? How do we implement micro trainings or micro learning sessions? How do we have our leaders in the field also be teachers? We have our trainers that go out and do the hands-on training, but just like we empower everyone to be a safety ambassador, we look at everyone on the team. They can be teachers and trainers too. And so we're really looking at, I think we've got it down as far as the rain day trainings and getting individuals in the academy and taking advantage of the simulators and the classroom training. But now it's getting our trainers to the field and making sure that we're teaching and training on a weekly basis out in the field.
Yeah, because that was a challenge in the beginning. And I'm sure a lot of people that are trying to think about training and development, workforce development, that's a hurdle that you got to overcome. How do I take people out of the field and get them into these classes and get them into the academy? And you struggled with that for a while. That was something. How did you navigate through that?
We went to our teammates and we had meetings and got their input. And it was our general superintendent that came up with the idea and said, hey, if y'all need 20 people in a class to be learning, then let's work as a team and help cover each other's sites for a half a day or whatever it is. And so we were able to develop out a 4-week program that's a half day each week for a set group of people, and their teammates help cover out in the field. And so, that solves one part of the equation. But it's just a matter of, I think, getting input from, I can sit in my office and create a lot of different things, but they may or may not work. And so really it's using the knowledge of team development group and then those out in the field who are the leaders, and listening to them and navigating through building what works. And so it's not perfect, and we're still learning, and we're still figuring it out, and we're still trying new things. And I think that will always happen. But the point there is that we're willing to think outside of the box, and we're willing to give things a shot. Because if you get too narrow-minded on things, and I think I came into it with, all right, we've got to have training, and they've got to be on set days for set times, and we've got to check these certain boxes. That's not how it works, because you've got to take weather and a lot of different things into consideration when you're making your game plan.
Yeah. Think about that, how that you had to transition, you had to change your mindset to be able to do that. Think about the people that have been here for 15, 18 years that had to change their mindset, the people out in the field that have never been involved in any of these kind of training activities, development opportunities. I think about the transition they go through. That was something that had to be in place, and that was only in place because we got their buy-in. You think about all the new programs that you roll out, and we had, in the beginning, they thought they were coming in for sensitivity training. And we kept hearing that, like, what am I doing? I'm going into training? What is this for? But I think over time, they saw that this was important to the owner of the company. Brian embraced it. He said, look, I know that it's going to make it, to get that person in training means that machine's going to have to sit. And I'm okay with that, because we are not going to be able to achieve our vision if we don't invest in our people. And so like that, hearing that message over and over, and weekly Brian would get on and do his live talks, and he would talk about the importance of development and training and leadership training. And so I think once people got that, hey, not only is Brian okay with this, like, he expects this. This is part of the job now.
Right.
Then I think you were able to start getting some traction.
Yeah, and we set up now. I mean, from day one, from the first call and conversation. I mean, our recruiters talk with our applicants and say, you may be working out in the field, or you may be training, and they're both equally important. So they know that from the beginning. And I think that over time, like you said, initially people were hesitant about coming in, and it was almost as if you were getting sent in for training and you had done something wrong, or it wasn't a positive thing. But over time, and as we've gotten the buy-in and more people have gone through the training, I think that we have teammates, they now look forward to coming to the academy, and we established the academy as a job site. It's a job site.
You carry their time for the day.
Yep. Yeah, and so, it took a little bit of time, but now it's a positive thing to come in. And we've got, a waiting list for people wanting to come in and get on the simulators and spend time on that and learn new skills.
A lot of the people that come in had not had this kind of opportunity before. They'd never had access to a facility like this, never had training opportunities. What is the reaction from the team?
I think a lot of people are just kind of taken aback at first, and it's like, this is for us. This is where we get to come and learn and grow. And if you look at it from a logical standpoint, or if you look at it from someone who's considering either going to college or taking a different training path, there are training programs out there that do what we do, and we provide this training for free for our teammates. And so when you are hired on at HOOPA, it's not you're just hired on to fill in a particular role. You have the opportunity to grow and to build your knowledge and your experience for free. I mean, there are schools around that offer 8-week programs, 12-week programs that are thousands and thousands of dollars. And no, you're not going to come in and be in a classroom and have a set 8-week program or 12-week program. But over the course of your career here, you have the opportunity to go through these trainings and actually to have more customized and hands-on training. I mean, I don't know how frequent it is out with other construction companies that you've got a trainer that will literally, your first few days will be out there beside you, teaching you how to run this roller. You know, I haven't obviously been in the industry for years and years, but what I've heard is that back in the day, they'd toss you the keys and say, good luck.
Hey, and that was the case here. I mean, we didn't have that. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it didn't exist here. If you could come in and you could pass a drug test, you were in a piece of equipment, and that was it. Here's the keys, there's the gas.
Yeah. Well, and you know what I think, kind of circling back to what your question before about what our team does, having this hands-on training from day one, from, you know, the orientation in the classroom and then out into the field, each teammate is building a relationship with our team development group members. And so, you know, we were talking about HR issues earlier. We avoid a lot of those because now teammates have a direct contact to somebody where they can call them and say, hey, this is a challenge, or hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, I need a little bit of help here. And then our team is able to step in and make that connection with their superintendent or whoever it may be to help support through a situation. And it could be personal, it could be professional, but that's something that I think is really unique is that, I mean, you can ask any of our team members on team development group. I mean, they get calls and texts all the time, people saying thank you for, you know, the experience they had with onboarding or for the training, circling back around with them and when they've got something that comes up. So it really is about relationship.
You said a couple things that I want to dig into a little bit further there. Number one, we talk about when it rains, it trains, right? It's catchy, it sounds good, and it's true. When it rains, this becomes the job site and they come here. But the reality is, if that's all the training that we're doing, we're not getting it done.
Right.
And so that can't be the extent of our strategy. And so this year, what you and your team decided to do was, hey, let's not look at the academy as a building. Let's look at the academy as a curriculum. And let's figure out how to take the academy to the field. What are you doing in regards to that? How is that working, and where do you see that going?
So we have expanded our training that we offer, as you said, by taking it to the field. And I think a lot of the focus initially is with our new hires. And so, like I said, there's that hands-on training. They go through the training here, and then they're out in the field with our trainers, and they're walking alongside them and making sure that they're safe and understand that. And then we actually have one of our trainers who follows our fuel trucks. And every time the fuel truck stops to fuel a piece of equipment, he is working with the operator of that piece of equipment, going over walk-arounds, answering any questions they have. So there's not...
Which is a great time to grab that operator.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they have to stop.
Yep.
They're already stopped while they're getting fuel greased, and so why not work with them right then while they're waiting on fuel?
Exactly. And so he's constantly training throughout every day and is able to touch a lot of different people throughout the week by focusing on that. And then we also are very responsive to if a superintendent, you know, calls in and says, hey, I've got a teammate who could use a little extra work here, or a teammate who's interested in being on this piece of equipment, and we can send a trainer out to work one-on-one to fill in on a piece of equipment while they're, you know, training the teammate who's looking to learn something new. So I think that where we're headed is just a lot more field training and really streamlining that and looking into those topics that are easily digestible out in the field, expanding our JHAs, our morning meetings, and incorporating training in that.
That's cool. The other thing I wanted to dig into a little bit further was you talked about the leaders and investing in the leaders and developing leaders. Not only are we trying to help them to be able to deal with issues within their teams, they're your trainers. So these men and women that are leading teams and building these projects, now all of a sudden they're teaching classes. How is that working? And have they been receptive to that?
Yeah, you know, a really cool thing happened in that. So when we were focused again on entry-level operators for a while, especially over the summer when we were looking to get, you know, a lot of teammates. We have open seats. And we would bring in the operators, and we're teaching them the basics, but it was focused on those entry-level operators, which the academy has allowed us to bring in individuals that we maybe never would have been able to give a chance in this industry. But what we recognize and realize is that the class is so much better when you have also the experienced operators in there, when you have superintendents in there, when you have those teammates that have been here for years and years. And so there's value in being the student, being the entry-level operator who's learning. There's value in the trainer who's at the front of the room. And then there's an incredible amount of value in having those teammates in the room that have the experience and have the knowledge. And so every class is a little bit different because you've got different people around the table. And so every discussion is a little bit different. There's been different experiences that they've had. And so I would say that our training is very rich because we proactively get those who have experience and aren't quote-unquote trainers, but they are a part of teaching and training.
Yeah. And, it's cool. You've got those individuals out there that have that level of experience and the knowledge, but that doesn't necessarily mean they had the confidence to stand up in front of their peers and teach a class on it. And watching them develop that skill has been really cool. I mean, people that they didn't talk before, that they were afraid to talk in front of a group, are now standing up and leading entire classes, teaching boot camp, orientation. It's really cool to see that.
Well, we've had several superintendents reach out to us and say, hey, on the next rain day, we want to do our own training, and so we sit in on that and we learn, and it's like, okay, is there something that we can streamline from this and build out a course? So it definitely, there's opportunity there, and as our teammates are seeing that opportunity to teach and train, they're raising their hand and saying, hey, I want to be involved.
So one of the things that we didn't expect when we built this academy and we started, and you and the team development group started building this curriculum, all the folks that wanted to learn. And, the academy, you're doing tours all the time. We've had the blessing of being able to meet people from around the country that have come in here. They've been a part of the podcast. They wanted to see the academy. And I've learned a couple things through that. I've learned, number one, we're not the only ones facing workforce development issues.
Right.
We're not the only ones dealing with the problems that we're dealing with. And the other thing I learned is that we're not the only ones working on it. There are some companies doing some really cool things out there in development world. And so you mentioned partnerships before, but talk to me about that collaboration that we've experienced and being able to work with other companies.
Yeah, so a couple, we have partnered with BuildWitt, so we're digging into that, and we're actually doing some training with them, and then with our simulators, we've got Sim Scholars, so that's a program that incorporates classroom training and simulator training, and then just, I just came out of a meeting a few minutes ago when we were talking about reaching back out to Sargent, because they sent over some information when they were down here. And so working with Sargent, Burns Dirt, are just a couple that we've really made that connection with that same focus and that same drive to make it a better industry and to join arms and not compete, but to help all boats rise together. And that's been a really interesting thing, is as these different companies have come in and we've met with them and they've shared what they're doing, we all have the same goal, but everybody has a little bit different spin on it. And so we're all able to take something and tweak what we're doing and share that information. And it's really neat to see everyone embracing each other so that we can really highlight this industry and the really cool opportunities that are offered within the construction industry.
Yeah, that's been fun to be able to collaborate with some of these companies. And you mentioned a few great ones there that are doing some amazing things. I think about, we had Alan Cahill on the podcast too, and they're in the process of building their own academy. And just seeing that this is becoming important to the industry and everyone's trying to make a difference with it. It's been cool to be a part of that.
Yep.
So let's give us the dirt a little bit. I want to dig in. So tell us, what has been the biggest challenge for you as you led this team and been a huge part of building this academy and this team development group. What's been your biggest challenge?
So I am a lists and or sticky note person.
Really?
I I'm very detail oriented, and I can plan out every step of the way. So honestly, I think the biggest challenge has been myself getting out of my own way, and you know, being able to take that step back and try to see the vision that executive leadership has for the academy and this company, because it's very easy for me to kind of get down in the weeds, and then to trust the process, to trust that you trust me to build this team, and it's okay if things don't work out perfectly. I'm the type of person where I want to make sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed before I launch something, and I think that initially that was very, very challenging for me to just say, all right, we're just going to run with this. Like, we're ready enough. We're going to run with it and tweak it along the way. So I would say that's been the biggest challenge. But I think I've made progress in it.
Well, I wasn't expecting you to go to your biggest challenge being you. But I do get that a lot of this has been, we got to move, right? We don't know exactly what this is going to look like. We don't know if it's going to be successful or not, but we got to move. We got to do something. And I never will forget when we did the Echelon Front training. Brian and I did that in Nashville through BuildWitt. One of the things that they taught us there is that you can't see the battlefield looking through a scope.
Right.
And so if you're focused here, you can't see this. And so being able to detach from the situation, step back and think about, all right, what am I really trying to accomplish here? Mm-hmm. And focusing on those 1, 2, 3 things and knocking those out first, and then worrying about the minor details later. But being able to detach and step back and look at it and say, all right, what are we really trying to do? And what's the next thing I need to do?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, you've done a great job of that, and Katie's a sticky note person, so you've got a book of sticky notes, and for each person mm-hmm. that you work with. Mm-hmm. And I always, so we have a standing meeting. Katie will come in, and she'll flip to my page in the sticky book notebook, and I know how long we're going to be in that meeting based on how many sticky notes I have on my page. And my goal for that meeting is to get those sticky notes off as fast as I can. Let's knock them out. Let's go.
I mean, it's become a system that really works for me, because a thought goes through my head. I write it on a sticky. I throw it on the right page. And
hey, if it works for you, you stick with it. Stay with the sticky notes. What's next? Right? We've been, what do you see? What are the trends? What are the next big issues, the things that you're trying to solve?
I really think that we've got a good foundation and a good framework, and now it's just taking it to the next level. And by that, I mean really taking advantage of these partnerships with, the BuildWitts and Sim Scholars and other companies, and building out those trainings that we can get out more quickly to more people, and that means taking it to the field. So that's really where our focus is now. We've got, like I said, the academy, the rain day training, then we've got that down. But now it's leveraging those partnerships and being good partners, and also gleaning as much as we can from our partners.
Yeah, that's going to be huge for us. And what a massive undertaking that is to try to accomplish. Are you seeing one of the things I'm seeing, I'm interested to see if you're feeling it too, is that we've focused on job skills, we've focused on career paths, recruiting, leadership training, soft skills, a lot of different things that we're trying to provide our team members with to be able to be successful. But one of the areas that I see us having to press in further is the health part of this for our team members, with coping skills, mental health issues, just work-life balance. Are you seeing that? And do you see that being a focus of the academy moving forward?
I definitely think there's a lot of opportunity there. And, that kind of goes back to, our team gets those texts, those phone calls from our teammates who might be facing something that is not directly related to their job, but it impacts that work-life balance. Whether it be a transportation issue or somebody's got a family issue that they're going through. And so I think that, we have the luxury of having a large team that's able to be there to help support as we can. But I do think that, there needs to be some broader strokes with what we offer as far as, creating that safe space and that training, and then also having the resources needed. We can't all be, the therapists and psychologists, but we have to be armed and ready with whatever that resource is. And it could be additional trainings, it could be online services, whatever it may be. But we are aware of that, and we do need to make that a focus to make sure that we are holistically supporting our team.
Yeah, I think that's going to be huge. And a company that's doing really well is C.W. Matthews, which I think we've got them scheduled to come in, be on the podcast too. But I know that they are doing a lot in that space. Matter of fact, I think they just hired a full-time chaplain at the company to help and just be there for their team members and help them with those issues as they come up. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what that looks like. I know that's going to be a huge priority for us too. So what would you tell... Is there anything that you wish you had known prior to saying yes to Brian and I when we offered you this job? What do you know now that you wish you'd known back then, 3 years ago?
Probably just to relax and trust the process, that you don't have to have it all figured out. And I think over the course of the last 3 years, I've learned the value of communication and the importance of that, and doing that the right way. And I think that we didn't talk about this a whole lot, but I think I wish I had known how important the core values are to this company and this culture. While I had a good feeling about you guys and the company, I think if I'd really known the core values and how important they are, then I probably wouldn't have worried so much along the way about trusting the process and just letting it happen. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but.
Yeah, you wish you'd known not to worry. Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. But you're right. The more time you spend and you realize that it is authentic and the core values mean something, and each team member is equally important here. It becomes a little easier to relax in that and know that you're respected, you're valued, and you're going to have the freedom to go out and do what we're asking you to do.
Yep.
Yeah. So give us your recruiting spiel right now. So what would you say to that young lady that's in high school or graduating high school, graduating from college, considering an industry, considering getting into the construction industry? Would you encourage them to do it? Would you?
I would definitely encourage him or her to do that. I think that my recruiting pitch to them would be, don't sell this industry short. Give it a chance. I mean, I'm in this industry and have no industry experience, and there's lots of great opportunities, whether you're in the dirt or in the office. And it's just a matter of giving it a chance. There are a lot of skills and abilities that apply within this industry that don't require you to be able to operate an excavator, and you can make a difference and have a great career.
That right there, I think, is the biggest takeaway from this. There's a lot of great takeaways. Okay, I'm not trying to minimize it, but the biggest takeaway is that think about that there are so many opportunities and jobs within this construction industry that aren't necessarily, field related.
Right.
You didn't come from it. Caroline didn't come from it. I didn't come from it. I mean, I've had a background in it. We've all touched it at some point. But there's a lot that goes into supporting an organization like that. And so to open our minds and to be able to showcase that side of the business to that next generation is extremely important. I mean, we got full-time roles for marketing. We got, we've got excavator trainers, and someone that just knows how to work that and give people the opportunity to learn through that. And there's so many positions inside the company that that aren't out there in the field.
Well, I mean, look at our finance and admin team. I mean, that's a big team.
It's a huge team.
And they do a lot of different things that are also available in other industries, but there are different opportunities within this industry for those roles.
Yeah.
And so don't discount an industry just because you don't know anything about it.
That's awesome. Katie, are you documenting this process? Are you writing a book about how building TDG?
I'm keeping all my sticky notes. Put them all in
it's
order.
A book of sticky notes. Well, it's going to be a great book, and I think it's really cool to watch how. I know we're building this plane as we're flying it, but to see the process and the evolution of this vision and seeing it come to fruition has been fun to watch, and it's been fun to watch you and your team. You have an amazing team. Lots of credit to you guys for what you've been able to accomplish. I know that you love on them every day, and please do that for us too. But you guys are doing an incredible job, and just thank you. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And is there anything else you want to say about your team or team development? Or
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing, and we appreciate the opportunity because, I mean, like you said, not all companies have 19 people to support the rest of the team, so we appreciate the opportunity. And, they come to work every day with a positive attitude and ready to work, and if nothing else, they will pivot and jump in and help out, and I think that's where the magic happens.
Do what it takes.
Yep, do what it takes.
Katie, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. I know that you were a little nervous coming in. And then we told you that we told you this was all kinds of different things other than a podcast. So we probably participated in making you nervous. But thank you for doing it. Thank you for everything that you're doing, not just for Hoopah, but for the industry.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Give Us the Dirt. Visit our website at giveusthedirtpodcast.com and subscribe to this podcast on Apple and Google so you never miss an episode.